Hi, welcome to the Sifu Mimi Chan Show. Thanks for joining the conversation.
Hello.
Hello.
Representative Dr. Anna V. Eskamani.
I know, a lot has happened since we last joined each other.
Yes, and on the podcast, yes, but of course I see you all the time,
yeah.
which is amazing.
And you and your students did such a beautiful job at our kickoff back in February. Everyone still talks about the dance,
really?
line dance, yeah.
Well,
everyone mentions
all
it.
the good luck. Well, it was very exciting to be there. That room was so
awesome.
energetic. And
oh, yeah.
Of course, you looked amazing.
Thank you. You know, a piece of lettuce, like, right
That's
hit
good
me.
luck.
I know. I was like, this is perfect. My security was like, what was that? And I was like, it's fine. It's just lettuce. It's perfect.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about
it
that
was
projectiles.
So funny. It was great.
I love it. Well,
it
kept them on their toes.
100%.
You know, you got to keep them on their toes.
Totally.
So I wanted to talk to you. I always want to talk to you, but I was thinking about your Madam Mayor run. I was thinking about the work we've done together. I was thinking about this journey. And what's interesting is it is so clear to me the first time I met you and I saw you. It was at one of the Lunar New Year events. I think it's the first one right after you were elected. Because I mean, that happens in November-ish. And then January was Lunar New Year. And you got up on stage, you introduced yourself, this junior rep, you know, no one really knew. And as soon as you started speaking, you just completely changed the tone of the entire parade. So it was like, that was the days where the parade would happen, and then in the parking lot, in that scorching heat, they would have something on stage and like make us just all like, not only march in the sun, but then stand up there for a while.
Totally.
Thank God we don't do that anymore. But you got up on stage, and I'll never forget too, my mother ran over, she goes, that woman is amazing. I go, I know, right? You just came on stage with this energy and sincerity, and I, hadn't really worked with legislators and politicians. Like, obviously, we see them at all these events. Over the years, the commissioners, et cetera, have been invited, have done proclamations, but I've never actually felt like, I want to partner with someone. I want to work with someone, and somebody that I really believe in. But you got on stage, and I will just never forget the energy that you brought, the story that you told, and here we are today, many moons later.
A few gray hairs here and there.
No. You look amazing.
That's really sweet.
And immediately, I mean, you came on the podcast and everything too, but we really had quite the journey. And
and we have some connections, like same high school, right?
Know, the Cougars.
So UHS were the very best. So it's really cosmetic too, I think.
It is. And I was thinking about that, and I tell you this every time I see you. I'm like, I don't know how you still do this. I don't know how you keep going, and you're in like 5 places at once. And I just thought we would take a minute today to kind of talk about like how it all began, and that passion, and what you've learned since then, and from how we began to where we're at now, because you're going to be shifting gears. So kind of, because for our listeners and our viewers that maybe don't know you as well as I do, and kind of let us know, like, what was that? Thinking back to that very first campaign, now that you're in a different one, like, what was that like, and why did you really want to take this journey?
I mean, you're right, of just like how much has happened between now and then, and there's so much growing. There's so much evolving. I will say that like my values have stayed very much the same, but I think that's because values really are just so deep, right? And they come from our families, they come from our experiences growing up, and much like you grew up in an immigrant family. My parents are both immigrants from Iran. We met each other at the same donut shop in Orlando. So a true American love story. And public education was paramount in my household. If you got a B, you were in trouble, honey. And so
I hear you.
The pressure. But I also loved school. Like, it kind of worked out, because I loved going to school. I never complained about it. I loved being with my friends, my teachers. And I just love learning. I mean, I was such a math kid. I was so good at math.
Okay, that's where we do not align there.
Well, now I don't.
I'm a bad Asian.
Girl, now I don't strive for it. You know what I mean? But like, I just love learning, and of course I found high school theater in that time.
Yes.
But everything in my life hit a shift. My mom was diagnosed with cancer, and I was about 9 years old, and she passed away in 2004 when we were 13. And that was a tragic loss, and one that I'm still grieving with and I still carry with me today. But it also really forced us to grow up fast and to have a sense of responsibility, not just for ourselves, but for others. And I think that's really always been foundational for me as I entered college and started getting involved in campus organizing and activism, and then shifting to working in the nonprofit sector and then public service. There's always been this thread of a commitment towards supporting others and being responsible for the health and well-being of others, and not just thinking about me, but thinking about us. And that hasn't changed, right? From the very beginning, that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I look back at my first campaign, there's definitely so many relationships I never thought I would have that I have today with very unlikely, folks in this space. I mean, it's so interesting to me to be 35 years old and to have a network that is so vast. Like, I don't even have time to get back to everyone. Like, it's so stressful, honestly. Like, I feel
seriously don't know how you do it. And I always tell Oscar, I'm like, I can't believe she texted me back so quick. I mean, I would be like, hey, I get it.
Girl,
it's amazing.
I mean, I try so hard, but I'm not even kidding. I was updating my to-do list on the way over here. And part of it's just people that I know I have to get back to, right? Like people I owe a text back or a call back. But it's a lot. But I mean, it's so rewarding and it's so affirming, because the fact that it's one of those good problems to have, right? Like people come to you because they see you as supportive and as a problem solver and someone who can be their liaison to reach their success. And so I really prioritize that and I value that. But yeah, I would be lying if I didn't say it was overwhelming and hard. And people forget it's technically a part-time job.
Yes, they don't realize. No, people don't know this. So please explain this to people.
Our salary as a state house representative is only $28,000.
Yes.
So I do have a day job on top of what I do as a legislator. And that also is a commitment of time. It's a full-time job. I have to travel for my day job to do conferences and to facilitate gatherings and convenings. And so I have to balance all of that. And later, it's so funny. I had a call with my team today. And my boss and my colleagues were like, so what's everyone doing this weekend? And everyone's doing all these fun things. Yeah. I feel like I was such the downer. I was like, well, I'm going to this convening on Friday. Then I fly back Saturday morning. And then I have a bunch of community events Saturday morning. Then Sunday I'm going to work on session stuff. And, it's just everyone's just feeling my stress. I'm like, oh God, I feel like, the downer in the space. But that's literally how you have to operate to get everything in, to be responsive to your constituents. But with that said, I mean, in that time frame, really just growing as a leader, as a manager, as a facilitator, and really just doing my part to create calm in a world of chaos. It is so tempting, I think, for politicians to lean on chaos, because unfortunately, if you don't actually want to solve problems, your path to power is chaos, right? It's to continuously creating chaos so that you can be the leader that fixes it, versus addressing the problems that already exist that are much more complicated and difficult to solve. Those are the problems that I want to address. So I really try hard to de-escalate and to create calm in the chaos, but candidly, it is hard in an environment where so much of what I care about and the values that I hold are being attacked and marginalized and targeted. So yeah, just it's a practice of grit and grace every day, Mimi.
Well, the grace is certainly there, and obviously the grit, because I tell you, I always say, how can you be in 3 places at one time? I don't even understand. Do you have the teleportation device? Yeah,
I do have a twin sister, but
I know,
but she's busy with her own stuff too. I know. She's so busy.
I know, you can't even send in the double.
I literally text her because one of the days I'd be out of town, there's an event that I hate to miss, and so I asked her. I was like, "Are you in town that weekend? Because I will send you." But she has her own stuff going on too.
Of course, that's actually what I've always found amazing. And as you know, I had worked with the Make Us Visible Florida and everything, and the national team actually said to me, regardless of which side they're on, all of that, they all said, number one, Representative Anna Eskamani, her constituent services are impeccable. They're the response time, the outreach, the way you put your constituents first. And I'm not just saying this, y'all, because we're friends. Obviously, I love support and all of that. But seriously, you just you don't just do the work, you go above and beyond. And so
Thank you.
they pointed that out to me because I didn't
Thank
really know a
you.
lot about the legislative side of things
Yeah.
and how all of that works. And they were like,
Yeah.
her constituent services are unbelievable.
It's pretty. I go back to the pandemic years. So, I mean, the pandemic. We always prioritize constituent services, but COVID-19 really tested us because I've never seen an inbox like ding so many times. Like it was like I hit this point maybe where I would be pulling all-nighters getting back to people, and I would think like, oh, I created a dent in my inbox. No way. There's no way that more emails are going to come. And like, as I'm responding, it's like ding, ding, ding. Like it was wild. And I actually asked the House office tech staff, I was like, can you get me the number of emails that we have sent and received? Because I have no doubt we'd be at a record because it was just such an intense period. Yes. But even today, 5 years later, I was at Will's Pub for their 30th anniversary party. And this woman pulled me aside to say, you helped me 5 years ago. And I saw you post online that you help people with COVID and unemployment dollars. I really didn't think it was serious, but I still contacted you and you got back to me immediately and you helped me. So it's just so kind and affirming because it was a hard time for all of us. Yes. I mean, and just a period of so much, like I said earlier, chaos and confusion and loss and grief and stress and anxiety. And yet, like, we found ways to be that support system, to be that arm to say, pull you up and say it's going to be okay, that people still remember it 5 years later.
Oh, I think...
And so that just warms my heart. It's so affirming to the work that we do.
I think you make such an impact. I don't even know if I can, put it into words, but like, you're still a human. I don't know if you know this, or because I've seen you like not operate on food, not operate on sleep, not operate on all the things. Maybe it's because you're still young enough. I don't know.
Not for long, Mimi. Not for long.
Yeah, I'm still out of you. But you're. I always tell people, and you can use this. It's not the years, it's the mileage.
Yeah.
And you put more mileage on in the last year than many
I tell
people.
folks all the time, like I might be 35, but I feel much older because I'm awake longer, so I've slept less.
No, 100%. And you've done so much. And so what amazes me is that you see politicians, you see public influencers, whatever you want to call anybody up there that is a leader in the community. And there are times where you're like, wow, they look pretty tired. They look pretty like beat up. I think I'm probably one of those. But you never look tired. Every event that I've seen you at, you just give them your all. Like, how do you keep that passion?
Oh my gosh. So I am the sum of those around me. So I think a part of it is you give me energy, I will return it. I think that's a part of it. I also am a firm believer as a manager and as a leader, like I need to do my best. And I'm not perfect by any means, but I need to do my best to not let my stress show because stress feeds stress, right? And so I think it's important to
take those notes.
Try to mitigate
lessons from Anna.
Right. I mean, try to mitigate that. But again, I'm not perfect. Like I can sense. I mean, people ask all the time, like, how you're not burnt out. And honestly, like, I feel like I am burnt out.
Of course you are.
I mean, I feel like I am. How can you not be when you're doing this type of work for 7 years straight? And, even before I was in public service, I was also a workaholic, right?
And you were doing all the Planned Parenthood.
Totally. And I do think a lot of it, like, not to, like, unpack childhood trauma, but, like, I do feel like I never saw my parents take a break because in a working class family, my dad worked 2 jobs, if not more, baseline 2 jobs to make ends meet. My mom worked at Kmart, and she worked at Kmart like overtime and was always running around the store. I mean, it was where the Burlington Coat Factory is now, off Colonial Althea. It used to be a Kmart. And the only time we only took one vacation as a family, and it was a 3-day weekend at Anna Marie Island. My mom and one of my mom's coworkers had went there at a little motel by the water and gave her like a pamphlet. Back then it was like, all the kids who don't really remember what this was like, but before the internet, it was like a little pamphlet that had this little motel. And so we stayed there for, it was like probably 2 nights. Yeah. I remember like trying to book a trip to Busch Gardens because we'd never been before. That was just like a weekend and a half. My mom was getting sicker and sicker. So it wasn't the best experience, honestly. But that was the only time we ever took like a break. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we would go to like the beach on some weekends. Ikanlakachi River, Blanchard Park was our go-to park as a kid. So we would do that, on weekends and
Yeah.
stuff. And my dad worked part-time at Disney, so we got Disney tickets. But even the Disney trips, it was like after work one day, my dad was able to watch the fireworks. So it was like very in and out. So like when I reflect on that experience as a child, I'm doing the same thing today. I literally am. Like where it's like short weekend here, let's go do something fun for one evening. You know what I mean? But that like sustainable rest has not happened to me or for me. But I think one is like my brain isn't programmed for it. But two, in this environment, as elected official who does the work, it's just hard. Like, and it's stressful to be like away from my desk because the work is there. And I know I have friends all the time who are like, the work will still be there, Anna. But it's like, yeah, but you don't understand. Like my work is like someone about to face an eviction. So like, yeah, it's still there, but like, not really. Like, you don't really have to get to it. I mean, so like that's the difference between like a typical environment where like, the emails will be there, you get back to it later. If I don't get back to it now, like someone could lose their home, someone could lose their child, someone could, the stakes are so much higher. So like that's why I just, commit to it so aggressively. But yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot. And so almost a decade of public service, and you decided to take a break by running for mayor.
Yeah, like a very like marathon election, like a 2.5 year long election. Oh my God!
And I said, I was on the monorail coming back from the airport. I said, one day
this is my time. I know.
City of Orlando.
Oh my
mayor.
God! So funny, so extra.
Yes.
I know. The number of people who asked me that, they're like,
so is it going to be you?
I'm like, guys, there's so much more to being a mayor
I
than
know.
just the monorail message, but I'm so happy everyone's committed to this.
So
like
for viewers outside of Central Florida,
LOL.
there is a monorail that goes around, or there, like kind of their subway system, Orlando Airport, and like coming into the city when you get home, it's like, hi, this is your mayor, welcome to Orlando, and I'm just like, yes. And
it's become an Orlando tradition.
And it's also been the same mayor for a long time.
25 years.
Yeah, so, that's the only mayor's voice I've ever heard.
Same
and
girl.
I'm going to go, well, okay.
I know.
I can't wait.
Well, I'll tell you, the pressure on that, and again, not to say that's the main thing for my agenda, but like the pressure on that voice message is so high that like I actually plan, knock on wood, we like get there, I plan to like make it a public contest to create the script.
Oh.
Because I just don't want to take personal responsibility for the script and have people not like it.
I think we're all
you know what I mean?
Your voice.
I'm like, the pressure's too high.
You had me at Mayor, Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor! This is Madam Mayor, Dr.
Yes,
Anna Eskamani. No, we need to like make it a community effort, so we're all responsible for this next step. This next journey. But that's also part of my leadership style. Like I'm very collaborative, and I want to create as many opportunities for community participation as possible, even before we get there. Like we're already we're surveying the community. So let me start from the top. So yes, I'm running for mayor of Orlando 2027 before the city. This gets confusing for some folks because the city is a much smaller piece of Orange County. It's about 400,000 residents, and it's kind of a really weird line. It's like if you ever look at the map of the city, it's basically like Cimarron, and it goes all the way to like Pine Hills-ish. And that's kind of like what we know the city of Orlando to be, but it also has Lake Nona. So it has like this little sliver.
Interesting.
Poop, Lake Nona. So it's like really unique dynamics. There's many times when you're driving through the city. It can get confusing. You drive through the city, and one second you're in the county. Especially if you go to like even West Orlando. I was driving with one of our residents. She wanted to show me some of the neighborhood issues. And there were times where you can tell by the traffic signs if it has a Lake Eola fountain or the orange.
Right.
And it's like you're at one intersection and you see the fountain and the orange in like the same area, and it's like, okay. So with that said, it's a 2027, so it's a very like awkward year. It's an off year, but we are full speed ahead, and not just knocking on doors, but surveying the community. We're actually asking our constituents, what do you like about the city and what you want to see different? And so we're integrating that into our first 100 days vision in our platform. As you can imagine, the top comments are housing, affordability, public transportation, key. And I consider them to also be tied together. And then, of course, you have folks who are worried about public education, community safety, the environment. Homelessness falls under the safety banner, but that's another crisis with affordability. And so we've already mapped out, our main agenda items, which includes universal childcare, because I do feel like the more we can take these necessary costs off our families, the more that they can contribute back to the city and also save. And I don't see it as a safety net. I see it as an economic development tool, that if our city can provide that type of support for families, it will attract the top businesses to come here, entrepreneurs to want to live here, and it really becomes an ability of employment and talent retention and recruitment versus, just helping families. I think there's an economic measurement that makes the ROI worth it. And so with that said, it's a marathon, not a sprint, but we're doing the work, and we've already raised at this point more than $700,000 for more than 10,000 donations. So it's been crazy. Every time we do our campaign finance report, we're like breaking the city's system because they've never had that many donations before.
Well, you are
like
very loved.
Super
in the
extra.
city of Orlando.
Super extra. But we're just trying to maintain all the trains, right?
Yeah.
Like legislative work continues, the campaign continues. We're also doing voter registration drives.
Yes.
Like we're here, there, everywhere. But yeah, it's worth it. It's
Yeah,
worth it.
well, I hope so. But it'll be worth it to hear you on that monorail. No, so like the shift. On one hand, I'm super excited about this. On the other hand, I'm so sad to be losing some representation in the House of where, I've now that having been to Tallahassee, I'm like, I'm not going back.
Yeah. It's a hard environment.
Not going back to Tallahassee. It is such a hard environment. I mean, on one hand, there was a dynamic that I was surprised, like pleasantly surprised to see representatives, regardless of party affiliation, working together. And behind the scenes, when the cameras are off, it's not about like arguing on these things. They're like, no, we're humans. We know we're up here in this city together. And we have to coexist. And there's like kind of that empathy. Like I still saw empathy, but
absolutely,
it's such a tough environment. And so, we're very sad that you won't be, up there to represent for us. But in the same regard, you're like making kind of this shift, which is going to be what I kind of I'm always trying to remind people, having now experienced and understanding a little bit more about elections and understanding more about government. It's like local
matters.
Like if you want your day-to-day quality of life to improve, understand what's happening locally. And so what was the shift for you? Like what was the decision where it was like, okay, am I going to keep doing this? Am I going to keep going on this trend? Or a lot of people jump to Congress or
or U.S. Senate or State Senate.
I mean, different things. So why this mayor?
It's a great question, and there were a lot of folks that had encouraged me to run for many things over the years.
Yes.
I mean, there were folks that wanted me to run for State Senate like 2 years ago, to leave my seat and do that instead.
Yeah.
To the point where one of the organizations actually did a poll without me knowing and showed me and said, you could win this race if you ran, right? So there's always folks who have, whether they have their own political agenda, that's why they want you to do it, or it's out of the goodness of their heart and they just think you do a great job.
Yeah.
I've always been really blessed with folks who have provided me with their insights and their aspirations for me, right? Including running for governor. A lot of folks have said I should run for governor, and I feel very confident that I would be an amazing governor. And state government is my passion. The function of state government, ensuring that it is an add-on for reaching your potential versus getting in your way.
Yeah.
There's just so many levers within state government where it can work for you. Like, I remind folks all the time, so many agencies are just not only failing us, but they are betraying us.
Yes.
And when you have the Florida Department of Emergency Management being weaponized to open up immigrant detention camps, or you have the Attorney General's office attacking local governments and not defending policies like Florida's ban on open carry, and instead allowing activist judges, as the right always says, to redetermine Florida law and not challenge it. Our Attorney General could be going after corporations who are exploiting tenants, for example. Our CFO could be going after insurance companies or jacking up our rates, but instead they're going after and doging local governments, eliminating their diversity programs. So I always remind folks, to your point about the importance of local government, it's not even that they can make your life better. They're actually making our lives worse right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so I've always had a passion for state government, and that drew me to also local government, which obviously I engage with all of our municipalities. I actually serve 6 municipalities right now. So I have the city of Orlando in my district. We go all the way down to Belle Isle and Edgewood. And we also have Winter Park, Maitland, and the historic town of Eatonville. And then I have parts of unincorporated Orange County in my district. Okay. So we interact all the time with local governments. And I think what's so powerful with local government is that you really just have your own executive team. I mean, you're an administrator. So not only are you a policy wonk and coming up with solutions and partnerships to solve problems, but you're also trying to ensure that the basic necessities of government run to the highest degree. And whether that is your trash pickup or your fire and police response times or just public transportation, like these might feel like small pieces of your life, but they're what makes our country and our state and our city work. And if you don't have a good train system, then how can you get to your job? How can you get to pick up how can your kid get home from school? I mean, it's just it's all a part of an individual at the micro level reach their full potential for the macro to be successful as a whole. And I'm a firm believer that all boats rise up together. My success is not tied to your failure. It's not a zero-sum game. We all do better when we all do better. And I see the city of Orlando at this pivotal moment with the first open mayor's race in 25 years. And so are we going to go forward or are we going to go backward? Or are we going to be the status quo and consider what we have now to be what I would argue is mediocrity to be acceptable? Because Orlando has some of the worst wages in the country. Orlando does not have a working bus system. We have a lot to be proud of in our city, but there's so many parts that are lacking as it pertains to infrastructure, as it pertains to affordable housing, as it pertains to clean air and clean water. And so it excites me. It's something that I'm actually really excited about. And just the fact that I'm going to have a team, you know what I mean? Because we do so much with such a small team and they're amazing, but to think about an entire executive and administrators and on the ground city employees that are delivering these services to empower that entire operation to accomplish these shared goals. It's so impactful. And that is really what drives me and gets me excited. And of course, I'm a millennial, so we're not going to stay somewhere for 25 years. I do believe that the city needs term limits. I think that's a very important dynamic in this. And so I want to have an impact in a span of 10 to 12 years and to create a legacy for someone else and then continue and then see what happens next.
All right. Well,
but I'm excited about it.
I am too. And as we look to 2027, it seems far away, but I will tell you, the years are just flying by. And so what can people do to get involved if they want to be involved? How can everyone ensure that you are the voice of the monorail?
I love it. So definitely keep in touch with us. We're active on 2 different handles right now. That's Anna for Florida with 2 N's all spelled out. And the new one is Anna for Orlando. So either one will bring you to volunteer opportunities. But if you want to sign up for our weekly volunteer newsletter, you can go to annaforflorida.com/volunteer. And then you'll be signed up to get our Sunday newsletter that has all the different ways to get plugged into our work.
Okay. And I want to remind people, the word volunteer seems very daunting because when I was doing my work with the legislation and everything, I would look for volunteers. I'm like, look, it could be an hour a month and we'll take it. It doesn't have to mean you're taking on a part-time job or that you're committing for the rest of your life. Whatever you have capacity for, there is something for you to do and to be a part of. And I honestly really believe we just really need leaders like Anna who not just has a passion, believes in the work you're doing, has a proven track record, and also is just an absolutely beautifully amazing person. Thank you so much for taking the time to come by. We're going to have snacks now. So we're not going to do that on camera.
I can't wait.
Keep it civilized. So
thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for having me. You're the best.
Okay, you're the best. All right, everybody. So Representative Dr. Anna V. Eskamani. Thanks so much. Until next time.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to the Sifu Mimi Chan Show. Please subscribe and rate my podcast on your platform of choice and leave a review. You can become a patron of the show at patreon.com/SifuMimiChan to help keep this podcast going. Follow me and interact on social media at Sifu Mimi Chan on Instagram or Facebook.